Yo guys, what's up? All right, I want to talk a little bit more about the state of where we're at right now. We just did some what I would call a contracting phase. Normal corporate terminology would be layoffs or downsizing. So we just went through that, and that obviously is never fun. It's only the second time I've ever done that before, and it's definitely necessary and all that stuff. But the reality is that every organism, every living organism or organization, which a collective of people is such, its life cycle or its energy production comes from an ebb and flow of energy. Human breathing, we inhale, exhale, and through our breathing process, energy is created. Take that a million steps further. What I'm learning in my Tai Chi practice is that you combine the breathing of inhaling and exhaling with extreme awareness that leads to sensitivity of the mind inside the body, where you inhale and use the inhalation to expand the joints, which lengthens the fascia, and then exhale, and you're creating an extreme state of relaxation in the fascia. And this stretching and relaxation of the fascia creates a magnetic energy inside the body, and that's what these super Tai Chi like masters are able to do these crazy things like the no-inch punch through walls, or poking their fingers through coconuts, and these like things that appear so magical that they actually look like bullshit. And actually, I would say probably like 95% of people on YouTube doing these things are full of shit. But the practice is real. In fact, I was just experiencing that yesterday with my Wing Chun teacher. Little tiny guy, and he just put his hands on my forearms like this, with me putting my arms out like that, and he was able to like not throw me to the ground. I mean, he could have thrown me to the ground, but he wasn't trying to hurt me. But basically uproot me with just these like little micro movements, and it was because he was able to connect to where my center of gravity was through extreme sensitivity, and use his inhalation and expansion of his fascia to jolt me to these other spots of the room. It was pretty entertaining and pretty humbling at the same time. I'm like way bigger than this guy. Anyway, so as a business, as a collection of people, we're also going to experiencing these ebbs and these flows. The market, also collection of people, is going to be experiencing ebbs and flows. And so ultimately, this just has to become part of our process, part of our growth process. And even in bodybuilding, which is I guess probably the sport that I held on to for the longest in my life that I'm completely far away from now, bodybuilding and powerlifting, you go through bulking phases where you just eat a fuck ton and lift really heavy weights, screw cardio, screw all that stuff, and just put on as much size as possible, as much mass as possible. Then you go through a leaning phase where you focus on really lean diet, lots of cardio, and you strip away the fat. But basically the fat burns faster than the muscle, so you're losing about 80% fat and only about 20% muscle during the leaning out phase. So basically and through those phases, you end up growing to a larger size than you would have if you just tried to maintain a constant flow, or at least that's the strategy of bodybuilders during the time that I was involved in the sport. And I'm pretty sure it's always been that way, and still is. But that said, so ebb and flow, contraction, expansion. The key here is to stay grounded in all of it, that you can't freak out or anything like that during these phases. And you want to use this stuff as basically an advantage, and understanding of that just being our cycle. So we are just now going through, or just kind of, I guess we just went through our contraction phase. Well, it was still in the phase, but we just started the contraction itself. And what we're doing is we're energizing. We're building that energy so that we can expand and explode and grow. And then, there'll be some mega growth, and then we're going to contract again and then expand and grow. Now, as we go into the future, I don't expect for these contractions to be these like mass layoffs or anything like that. more like a fat trimming. Where are we spending money that we don't need to be spending money? What projects are not really producing for us and we should rearrange those resources? That would be the ideal contraction phase. This contraction phase sucked because we were in immediate response, like we were late to respond to market. That's entirely my fault. Probably about a month too late. That made us be like, oh shit, we need to do things really fast. Maybe about 6 weeks too late. But that's why things were a little bit more frantic to do what we needed to do. It's because I was late to basically understanding what the market was doing. Or, I mean, I knew what the market was doing. I didn't realize how much it was going to affect us. Because we have to realize that right now, Amazon is still, we're very closely attached to the Amazon system. And Amazon was so massively affected by market that therefore that trickled to us. And it's, we're still kind of working out those kinks. Anyway, as part of this contraction phase, to help us become more lean, to help us, lose our bloat, and for us to build that energy, I'm going to be changing my dynamics with the team. So basically, we've launched several different pods. We have several different projects. We have the Amazon Content Refresh Project, which is all about basically understanding that our Amazon listings to date there's not a lot of pride in those. So many listings are missing content. It might just have a primary image and that no other gallery images. It might have like SEO copy written like from 3 years ago. The keyword research might be bad. All these things that basically it's just not great. So the Content Refresh Pod is all about getting I'm calling it a baseline of content. It doesn't have to be the best of the best content ever. It has to be just decent content. And more importantly, we want to move with a lot of momentum and speed so that we can apply this to over 100 listings. Because we still want to do a little bit of PLCs and a little bit of unhibernating along the way. So basically, we're going to need to apply this to about probably around 140 or so listings over the next several months. Then we have the Buyer Account Content Pod, which is taking advantage of Amazon's obsession. Well, really, it's e-commerce's obsession with user-generated content, mostly through the realm of professional creators. So small-scale influencers and just content creators in general. So that is another type of content that we're going to be focusing on through a different pod. Our supply chain is undergoing, basically we've experienced that we just went through the past really since March, I guess, 6-7 months, wherever we're at now, of living in complacency and kind of like a level of apathy due to the fact that when we got that big ass loan, we just threw it all at inventory, knowing that we were significantly overstocking ourselves. But it's like, well, screw it. It's better than that cash just sitting in a bank account anyway. And, our supply chain had been living at such a lean state for so long, which is very stressful and very difficult to do. So let's overstock ourselves so that supply chain becomes so easy. Because supply chain's job is, number one, to stay stocked. And then number two, to optimize process to reduce expenses along the way. And then I'm adding in a third one, which is to create additional function that we can build additional income streams off of. Don't worry about that right now. So, but what we've realized is we got so used to things just being really easy that we stopped following system, or maybe in some cases we didn't even realize some systems existed that we're supposed to be following. And now we're in this oh shit phase because we're our inventory is getting to the point where now it's affecting our sales. We're stocking out or getting significantly low stock. So Amazon's penalizing us for the low stock issues. And we're going to need to hibernate products that we would rather not hibernate. We're having to stop PLCs because our warehouse is backed up and needs to focus on these restocking of the products. So basically, supply chain is kind of in a wonky state right now. So that needs to focus as well. Then we've started the Phoenix Flow as a brand new, massive project. Ultimately, I still view it as essentially being our new business model. Amazon has been our business model. Now we're looking at Amazon as basically just another lead gen / income stream, but lead gen to put people into the Phoenix Flow to allow for us to focus on lifetime value of customer but then also for us to actually build a community of people that we can then establish various alternative products too. Maybe now we can start selling info products or various things. I don't want to get too detailed here. Various things. So we have the Phoenix Flow, 2 different content projects for Amazon. The Amazon Quick Fix, the Phoenix Quick Fix, that's like a really small thing where it's like starting to look at some Amazon listings that are underperforming. It's like, holy shit, no wonder why it's underperforming. Like, we didn't even put content in the listing, or we never turned on PPC, or these like really simple things that's like, ooh, how did we miss this? So let's quickly do this 15 minutes of work and get this listing selling again. And then of course we have on the accounting side, we are expanding our accounting function right now, because now if you guys have seen the video where we're finally starting to actually separate our entities, separate our functions of the NOVAEO functions into separate entities. So we have Le Luna, which is our warehouse and supply chain. Later to be broken down even further, where it's going to be just the warehouse, and then the procurement and B2B sales is going to be called the NOVAEO Network as its own separate entity, but for now that's still going to stay attached to Le Luna. And then everything else is basically SA Phoenix, the Phoenix series, which is marketing and management, later to become just marketing. So anyway, this is throwing a lot of work at accounting, because we're creating multiple sets of books now and all that. CE, I'm going to be at, now that CE is going to become very much a part of the Phoenix Flow. Basically, CE to date has really just been customer service. We're responsive to customer inquiries. That's customer service. CE, I kind of want to come up with another name for, but that is basically to encompass all one-on-one interaction with an everyday customer or follower, separate than a content creator or influencer, or I'll call all those people an affiliate. So CE would not cover affiliates, but all one-on-one interaction. But to date, it's really just been customer service, handling inquiries that come to us. But we're going to turn that into if people want to come talk to us, let's talk to them as much as possible. Let's build as much of a personal relationship as possible, and then let's insert them into the Phoenix Flow. Not to mention people that are already in the Phoenix Flow through other means. We want to communicate to them uniquely and try to build personal connection to help them move through the Phoenix Flow. So lots to happen in CE over the next couple months. And then let's see, what else do we have? I know I'm missing stuff. We have the NOVAEO Network, which we're getting started. That's basically a combination of B2B sales and procurement. So instead of thinking of these as separate things, now we're just thinking of ourselves as this person that just kind of sits in the middle and tries to talk to people. It's like, what are you buying? What are you creating? Or basically, what are you buying? What are you selling? What are you buying? What are you selling? Oh shit, well, how about you buy from him, you sell to her, and then you buy from that guy over there. And we'll middleman the whole thing and collect a little margin. That's the NOVAEO Network. That's something else that we're not putting too much focus on today, because supply chain needs to focus on inventory. But that's going to be maybe like 6 weeks down the road, maybe 12 weeks down the road. Kind of depends on supply chains regrounding and bouncing back from the inventory issues. So what else am I missing? Okay, PPC. Derek is leading the charge on a total overhaul of PPC. Oh man, I really wish we started this like 10 months ago. We've lost a lot of opportunity by not addressing PPC, not being aware of how much PPC was being neglected. But Derek grabbed the reins. Derek and I are creating strategy together. Derek is turning strategy into SOP. He's getting more into the details and defining micro strategy within the details. And then Sunil, and then right now Jupiter and Flint are all assisting the execution of PPC. This needs to be a conversation with both Flint and Jupiter. My current expectation is that you two won't forever be in PPC, but for now we're really appreciative of the support. So we're actually continuing to recruit PPC to get some absolute rock stars in there, because I think we're going to end up with 4, maybe even 5 total PPC people anyway. Not immediately, we're still in contraction mode. to a degree. But as we get ready to explode, that energy explosion is going to happen in different areas of our system, our community, at different times. So basically, PPC is going to be ready for explosion as soon as we fully develop the milestone 1 SOP. And in fact, we're already wanting to start recruiting now. If we get a couple rock stars, we'll be able to explode that a lot faster. And the ROI, the return on our investment of those recruits, is going to be almost instantaneous. Whereas in a lot of situations when you recruit people, it actually takes a while to get that return on the payroll and the training investment. In PPC land, it's going to be, literally like pretty much their first 2 weeks, they will already be, in a profitable perspective just because of how much opportunity we've been leaving on the table in PPC land. I still feel like I'm forgetting something. CE, Phoenix Flow, 2 content projects in Amazon, quick fix. Well, there's always the BHAT side of things, but that's not it. PMP. So Jesus has grabbed the reins on PMP stuff. I haven't put my mind on that too much, but there's definitely a lot of value there, especially with actually assisting supply chain. We have lots of overstock materials. We have lots of stuff that is just sitting in the warehouse collecting dust, so we can move that. That kind of stuff won't really move on Amazon, but like we can dump it on eBay and that kind of stuff. Definitely thankful for Jesus there, but I still feel like I'm forgetting something. I'm going to pause real quick because I don't want to miss anything. I don't know. I think maybe I got it all. If I'm missing something that you're working on, my bad. I feel like there's something else, but whatever. Point is we have a lot of these different things. Some things are brand new, and some things are going through overhaul. So Amazon Content Refresh is an overhaul project. Supply chain is, especially warehouse, it's supply chain in general, going through an overhaul. PPC is going through an overhaul. Accounting is going through a growth phase. We're building new system into accounting. CE is going to be going through growth. Phoenix Flow is a brand new project. Buyer Account Content Pod, brand new project. PMPs, we've neglected that for so long, we may as well just call that a brand new project, and our approach to it is different. And I don't know, whatever else I keep missing. So point being is everything is either in overhaul mode or is new. But we're doing a lot. We're doing all this at the same time. And this is part of the contraction phase. So we are contracting in. We've weeded out, whatever. I mean, it's not to say that the people that we weeded out were trimming the fat. In some situations, yes. In some situations, we definitely lost some rock stars, but it was what we had to do. It wasn't ideal. But a lot of trimming the fat from like subscriptions and some projects and stuff like that. So as part of this like building energy phase, and that really has a lot to do with efficiency. As, again, using the Tai Chi example, Tai Chi in Wing Chun, what I was doing yesterday, is all about energetic efficiency. So my master, actually he doesn't call himself a master, my Shifu, my teacher, was able to throw me around with just his hands and fingers. I was getting super sweaty because I was trying to resist him, and it's hot as shit here in Bali. And he was just kind of like, had this like, I don't know, like, Mr. Miyagi's Japanese, my teacher is Chino Indo, so I don't mean to be prejudiced in that way, but he definitely had a very Mr. Miyagi grounded, just kind of like small smirk on his face while he's just kind of throwing me around, and that's all due to energetic efficiency. So what I'm going to be turning my role into is I'm going to be helping to provide a significant amount of direction to anything that's newly launched, a significant amount of direction to anything that is going through a total overhaul, and ultimately consultancy on efficiency, because my brain really does two things. It can actually be reduced down to one thing. It uses creativity to come up with opportunity. Opportunity can be the creation of something new, or it can be reduction of something that is ultimately waste. But ultimately what I have is an efficiency mindset, and I'm going to bring that to every single pod. Like it or not, No. So this should ultimately be a really good thing. Hopefully, not hopefully, almost every single person after I leave the pod should experience some kind of like extra space, extra mental space, because I'm going to be asking about like what are the things that are clunky, like the systems that are kind of like frustrating to work through. What is taking a lot of time, and I'm going to help refine those, especially because sometimes something is clunky in one pod because it is a system that is connecting to another pod. I was just talking to Faith very briefly in DM about some stuff going on in CE. So for example, when CE has to wait on responses from other people about stuff. Now, ultimately, we need that system to exist, but maybe there's a way to make things faster. I think we're already doing this in CE, so, but let's just pretend we weren't. A good way to do that is, okay, let's not ask the same question twice. And I know we weren't used to doing that. We used to always ask Bo or Derek or whatever about like a product question. And it was kind of dumb. It was like, okay, ask Derek, and then Derek asks Chris, and then Chris asks the supplier. And then oftentimes the same question about the same product would get asked over and over again. So it's like, okay, well, at least let's only ask the same question one time. So that kind of stuff. I have the understanding of what is going on between two pods, so I can create that efficiency connection between the two. That combined with my just general efficiency and creative mindset, I'll also be jumping into each pod and helping create efficiency and or direction in those. All that said, this is going to be a lot for me. I really want to go deep into every single thing, and that's a lot of my time. That's a lot of my energy. It's a lot of my, my being in general. And I'm about to leave Bali in a couple days, go back to the US. We're about to have, everyone's going to experience Christmas and family time. And then I also have a lot of shit I need to do with the lawsuit, that fucking lawsuit, it's such a huge load of shit. Their attorney, last thing, even admitted that, it doesn't matter. This is such a load of shit. But I have to do it, and it takes time, and it takes energy, and I'm not going to have that much time for the month of December. So I was like, okay, well, what's going to be my efficient way of doing this stuff? So first of all, we need to collect reports from every pod, and I'm going to help. LJ already tasked out that I think this week we should have those reports coming in. I'm going to be, and those reports are based on like whoever the reporting designee, a lead or whatever. It's kind of just like, what do you think is best to report on? We're starting there. I'll be reviewing those reports throughout the week and then basically helping to evolve those reports. What other questions do I have? What other information needs to be presented for me to gain better understanding, to be a consultant within the pod itself or to help provide it direction? So that's going to happen. But for me to be most efficient with my time, because I'm really going to have a small amount of time, I'm going to be trying to communicate via video. Maybe even Voxer. Those are my fastest ways to project communication. But that said, I'm very aware that most of you guys do not receive information very efficiently or effectively through those means. This has actually been a source of personal frustration that I'm starting fresh, is I will often create long Voxes or produce video content, give it to a person or a team, and with the expectation, it's like, look, I just gave you a recording. Watch it 1,000,000 times, but anything I said in there should get absorbed. Come to find, maybe like there's like a 3% absorption rate, and 2 months later, I'm back in that system, that pod, that team, and it's like, okay, well, did you guys do any of this? And it's kind of like, what are you talking about? You never said that. It's like, oh boy, it's in the videos, it's in the Voxes, that kind of stuff. So I want to ask everyone to watch videos, listen to Voxes as many times as you need to. Don't treat that as something that is just like, all right, I'm going to do this while cooking, or I'm going to watch Netflix and watch the videos between episodes, or whatever it is that is often doing. Like, these videos need a significant amount of attention and focus. These videos will replace the need for us to be having scheduled meetings. So ultimately, you will get a significant amount more autonomy so long as and time freedom, so long as we can use these, take advantage of these tech systems instead of having to do scheduled live meetings, which to me are just so extremely resource heavy and an outdated form of communication in the business world. So, but since I can't expect everyone to just flip the switch to 100% absorption, I'm asking AJ and Tiffany to join me, and we don't really know what we want to call this right now. For now, I don't know. Basically, it's just going to be me, AJ, and Tiffany, and AJ and Tiffany are going to be shadowing everything that my mind is on, and then there's going to be a split between AJ and Tiffany, who's focusing on what. Like, one will be more focused to supply chain, one to Amazon. One of them might have more of a like harmony stuff, and one of them might be more like accounting, finance, whatever. We're going to create that split, and that basically they will help serve as a liaison between me and NOVAEO, the systems and the projects that are going on. So what that'll look like is any questions for me, any tasking for me that arises through any communication in any of the platforms. They will observe it. If I am not immediately responsive to it, it will get turned into a task for me in my ClickUp. We're gonna migrate. Oh yeah, we're gonna migrate from Asana to ClickUp, which should be pretty sweet. Not sure when that's gonna happen. Tiffany's just gonna be starting on that this week, that migration. So that stuff will flow into me so that I don't miss anything. But ultimately what will happen is, rather than me having to dive into the ClickUp platform, which is very efficient as a collective, you need to have universal system as a collective. But for me, where my headspace is going to be at and my availability is going to be at, they can help communicate to me like through Voxer, like, hey, Faith had this question or Derek had this question, and I can just Vox response it right back to them, and then they can make sure that information flows. Otherwise, stuff doesn't get missed. Similarly, when I'm producing questions, when I'm producing tasking, especially because I speak so casually a lot of times, and I think that's part of the reason why stuff gets missed, I might say something like, you know what, we really need to get cameras set up in the warehouse. That's actually a task, but because I communicate it so casually, it gets lost. Oh yeah, the cameras would be a great idea, but okay, we're not going to do that. So that's actually a task. So AJ and Tiffany will be very, conditioned to understand my way of speaking and to know when something is coming out that is ultimately like a deliverable, a task, an ask, a question, whatever the word is, there's an expectation of either action or response. Response can be a question. It can be, Brandon, that's a dumb idea. It can be whatever. But my energy can't go into thin air because that's really been hurting us. It can get challenged. I'm not coming from the state of what I say must go. It can get challenged or whatever, but it can't just go into thin air. And so Tiffany and AJ are going to help with that. So any tasking or any asks of me, they will absorb. And if I don't immediately do it, they will ensure it's timely response from me. Anything that I deliver, or like any asks I create, any tasks I create, any deliverables I create, whether it's through casual conversation, like, we should probably have cameras, or it's, hey, Bryce, make sure that we set up cameras. Archer can't do his job if we don't have cameras. Regardless of how I communicate it, they will make sure that Bryce gets the message that we need to set up cameras. And they will do that by being like, they're going to be taking their notes of the videos and stuff too. And then ultimately, whoever the video or the Voxer is directed to should also be taking notes. And then there should be a notes comparison. And then after the notes comparison, maybe a couple days go by and AJ or Tiff will actually follow up and be like, hey, Bryce, I'm still not seeing in your ClickUp anything about the cameras. And because I know that kind of sounds, to me, that sounds a little tedious and a little bit annoying, but we need 100% perfection right now. As part of this contracting phase so that we can re-energize, so that we can lean out and we can re-energize. So we need this right now. But ideally, every individual also gets the conditioning of how I communicate, and we forge a better dynamic between me and each of you, and then that will translate into a dynamic between each of you guys. And then we might get to a point where we like very rarely need meetings and stuff in general. Synchronous is the word that we've learned to use. Synchronous communication is like when we are live, whether it's like DMing each other live or in tandem live, that's like we're all working together at the same time. I think that's great. There's definitely some value to it, but asynchronous communication should be utilized as much as possible, and we can do that through tech. So anyway, I'm going to be communicating pretty much 100% through asynchronous communication. Maybe there'll be some like pod party requests or something like that at times, but it's going to be difficult for me to have that kind of space to schedule stuff over this month of December, probably like first week of January. So basically the next 5 weeks, 5.5 weeks. So meanwhile, don't rely on AJ and Tiffany. There's gonna be an element to the more they're having to do, the more they're having to follow up with you, the more your notes are not aligned with their notes. That's not gonna look good. It's not gonna feel good. It's gonna show a lack of focus on your part, a lack of maybe like inspiration, motivation, or initiative, maybe a lack of capability. It's going to show a lack. So don't rely on them, but also utilize them as like an extra energy to bounce ideas off of, because they are indeed like an extension of me. They're helping to expand, for me to expand myself, so that I can have more coverage into everything that's going on, so that I can be this visionary, this creative, and this consultant all at the same time during the contraction phase. With the overarching intention is for once everything is actually, all systems are go, everything is moving fluid, I can back out of this system altogether, and really I want to get to a point where I can start new businesses that are basically being tacked on to these systems that we're currently creating now. New ideas, new value creation, expand everyone's role, this kind of stuff. So anyway, let's enjoy this contraction phase. It involves a lot of focus, it involves a lot of adaptability, flexibility. We just went through change. So it requires these things, but it doesn't require stress. It doesn't require frustration. I've been very stressed and very frustrated these past few weeks because things keep popping up that I didn't realize that are, have kind of fallen apart or just aren't going as expected. But I'm done with that energy. Hopefully that trickles to you guys, that might, any of those that are feeling stressed or frustrated, overwhelmed, whatever. We can replace all of that with this appreciation for newness, newness of projects, newness of roles, newness of platform. ClickUp will be really cool. We get to shape our own perspective of how things are going on. And this contraction phase, this is going to be our energy building, and it's going to be really fucking sweet when we can explode and go into expansion mode. And I really don't think we're that far away from it. I really don't. I think that we are going to regroup ourselves in this contraction phase. We're going to see where the market bottoms out. When does Amazon stop doing their craziness that's affecting us? When do customers stop with like the no purchasing and stuff like that because they're afraid of recession and all too? Once we see that like baseline, then we can observe and start expanding out based on whatever opportunities the market is presenting us and whatever creativity myself and others. I'm not the only creative, I'm not the only visionary in the team, so I'm not the only strategist in the team. So, what opportunities are going to be presented once we're in that expansive mode? And I think it's going to be as early as like maybe even later January, but probably close to February. Things move a little slower than hoped. I guess it could be March, but I don't think we're going to be that far away. So right now, we're kind of like tweaking SOPs, relearning SOPs, we're migrating platforms, we're changing roles, we're doing a lot of stuff. This is the contraction, this is the efficiency building, This is the sensitivity and awareness training. And this is the culmination of energy, and then we're going to release it. We're not far away from that. It's going to be sweet. All right, guys, thanks for watching.